Hi guys, welcome back to the Nina Ear Show where we talk excellence. Now as you can tell, I have this beautiful young lady next to me, and before I share who this lovely young lady is, we have to do something, and that's the Nina Ear Dance where we talk excellence. But let's do it. Excellence. Come on. Excellence. Come on. Girl, you better do it like you know it. Excellence. Yeah. She's been watching the Nina Ear Show. She's got the dance down pat. Okay, so welcome to the show again, Onika.
Once again.
You're most welcome. Guys, she's been on the show. I think this is your third time.
Yes.
So if you want to see her other interviews with me, check it out right here on the Nina Ear Show. Before we get started though, I feel like I gotta give you a hug because your story in the recent Easy magazine has, I know it's an inspiration to others, but also for your bold and courageous move. Come here. Thank you so much. What you're doing, I know it's an inspiration, and I know that there's so many who are blessed by it. So thank you, and I'm gonna just have you start by, before I even do that, guys, where's my manners? Come on. Guys, if you are new to this channel, thank you so much for joining. If you're not new, welcome back. God bless you. We love you. Today you're going to be inspired by my beautiful spiritual daughter's story, and I have not given it a title as yet, but by the end of the interview I would know what title to give it. Yes, so tell us a bit about yourself, Onika.
Hi guys. My name is Onika, as the prophetess would have said. I have been a member at Divine Visitation Assembly, I'd say over 4 years, but for me it feels like one, because I would have been coming but not wholeheartedly before, and a lot has happened in the last year. I have grown a lot. I feel so different, and over the last 6 months I feel like God has been nudging me to start these talk sessions that I do, and I would always put it back because I felt like the set wasn't right and the outfit wasn't right and all these superficial things, and all he would say is just start. So that I did, and I honestly did not expect the overwhelming response I have received, and it gives me encouragement to continue every week to post a video. Most of the time I share from my heart, as the magazine would have said, and it feels really, really good. It feels very good.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually going great, guys, and I'm so glad that she took that move as well. Guys, even as she was sharing, I just want you to know that the young lady that walked in here probably 4 years ago, to this young lady that you see before you, definitely there has been change, transformation. She's glowing. I mean, the hunger for God is, you can tell, is there. The hunger for God is there. She serves in the ministry. You know, she designs the ministry. She's the interior decor for the ministry. This are in.
Well, right now I am. It's just those.
But you're also part of the Activated Women magazine that's upcoming.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's not forget the Activated
Let's
Women.
not forget that.
So I do a small feature on fashion in the magazine, so
Yes.
you can look out for that as well.
Yeah, so you're doing a lot. No, you have Onika Talks.
No.
God is keeping you busy, and we know that there are other stuff in store. You mentioned a bit about your book, which we will get into later on. But yes, guys, so that's another thing to look out for, is her book. You don't want to miss that. Yes. So let's get into the questions of the day. So we know, for those of you who have not seen her article in last Sunday's Easy magazine, I believe they probably still have some copies somewhere, not on the newsstand, but there's some copies somewhere. I believe you should get it and read it. But that's where we're having this follow-up, because it's long overdue.
Long.
We've been promising to have this talk, but it was not God's timing. So it is now, so we're going to do it. So you shared in a magazine, and we just want to follow up from that aspect of it. I feel like when you shared your story, which you talk a bit about your sexual molestation at the age of, I believe, 9. Yes, and you shared that story about your sexual molestation, and when I read it, I felt in my heart like you were speaking to as a voice to the voiceless. You were speaking to so many, not only boys, girls, women, you know, men. You were speaking like a truth, I believe, that has been probably silent in most.
Yes.
You were this voice that, you know, that came from the inside externally to others. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I can only say God first and foremost, because although I was deemed talkative at school and I would normally be the one to carry on conversations, I never thought that that would be the highlight of me speaking. I never thought that a nationwide newspaper article would be the first place that I say something so personal.
Yes.
But this voice, the Holy Spirit just kept, it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was just a prompting, just start. And I would say because I started, the door opened for the newspaper, because I never thought that I would be in a newspaper. It's something I would always look at the magazine and think, I could do that. Or it would be nice if I could go there, because inside of me I knew I had a story, but I never imagined that it would happen so quickly.
Yes. Wow, that's amazing. And like you said, you look at the magazine, like most of us look, I remember being a young girl and looking at it, never really wanted to be in it because, as I said, maybe I'm not as bold as you are, you know, and that's the thing I love about you in any case. Were you thinking of others when you made a bold move to share? And if so, what?
Initially, I felt I needed to share.
Yeah.
But in the same instance, I felt like people needed to hear more so than I needed to share.
Yes.
And as I would have said in one of my videos on Onika Talks, there is an element that was always missing in my life growing up. I've never heard anyone, whether it be counseling I've been to, whether it be sessions at school, I've never heard anybody say I. They would always give you the surface expression or the book read version of what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. And I just felt like I needed to be that person that I wanted to hear when I was growing up. Somebody that could say, I have done, it happened because of this, and this is what I did to get out or to change the situation.
Yes.
And it just came out, basically. It wasn't anything I planned. I would have had prophecies in the past about speaking to women, and I would always wonder, but how is that going to happen? I mean, I talked to my friends, but God knew.
Yes.
And as prophetess said, perfect timing.
Perfect timing. God knew, and God had a stage for you. Yes, you may think, why the magazine? But that was your stage. Yes, that was your practice. That was like the magazine was more or less like an auditorium where you go, you practice. So that was practice for the bigger picture. That's how we see it. Okay, because you know we share the vision. Yes. So we know that this is just the beginning. Okay, so you mentioned now that your story is out about the sexual molestation at early age. How do you feel? Like, do you feel a sense of
Yes. That is exactly how it felt. I felt free.
Wow.
I felt liberated. I felt like I could take on the world. It just felt like I was strong.
Yes.
It was a very serious feeling. They had its sad moments after the fact, because they would have made family members who did not know at all.
Yes.
And it kind of hurt them to see what I would have gone through and not said anything. I probably would have made them reflect on why they beat me so bad when I was a little girl too. But that element of it was sad for me, because it kind of relived the moment for a short time. But the general feeling of it was very liberating. It was like I could do anything now. That's how I felt.
You felt like I'm a woman, hear me roar. So it was empowering for you, even though that you were there to empower others. And that's the thing about sharing our stories, is that even though we're there to empower others, we're also empowering ourselves. Healing is coming as we share as well. So I think that that's really beautiful, and I'm really glad that you share. So thank you. Thank you. You mentioned church. What about church that made you change? You mentioned the change that you went through, and you believe that obviously what God is doing in your life, that obviously gave you that kind of like that inspiration, that push as well, that nudge. What made you stay in church though? Because there's so many people with stories, we know this. And you know, guys, and we know that sexual molestation is not, we're not saying it's something new. We know this is something that's been happening time after time after time after time. But having a person with a voice sharing it though makes a whole difference. Yeah, so and having a place, a safety net, you know, people that you can trust and be around. What made you enter the church, stayed, and be all that you are now within the church?
My intention was not to come to church or stay at church. Let me just start there.
I know.
I just got tired that week of everyone thinking that I needed God. And it's something you know because you grew up in church, but you were not ready to give up all the things that you like to do in the world. So when I told my mom I was going to come with her, it was out of just leave me alone. I am going to come Sunday so you can get off my back. And that was the truth. But I would never forget that Sunday in February. It was... I actually began to think that my mom would have had to have told the bishop something, because although the story was not about me, it was not about the death of a child, everything he said and the manner in which he said it spoke to me. So I cried from the beginning to the end. And it was so captivating that I decided on my own, I'm going to go back, because if what he said, he did prophesy to me at the end, and everything he said was 100% correct. But it made me start to think, well, let me see if this is real, because he probably can't do it twice. So I went back. I had not let go of my past. I had not let go of all the things I did. But there is something specific that the gentleman, Mr. Sobers, that I did counseling with, and my daughter Di said to me, that stood with me even to this day. He said to me, people believe that God wants them to change today, and that is not so.
Right.
Tell me the two things that you don't believe that you can stop doing, or the things that stop you from giving your all to God. And I told him I never thought I could stop having sex, and I never saw myself not partying. Wow. He said, well, I can't help you with the sex part. Only God can do that. But I will challenge you to come to church and go to parties. But you have to do them with the same intensity. You cannot let one be more than the other. So if you're going to decide to go to a party this week, you have to go to church this week. So I was like, well, how can you not take that bargain? Well, you can't want anything better than that. So I settled to do both.
Yes.
And I did. And I actually started to feel guilty the Sunday morning that I didn't feel like coming to church. But I think even in those times, I was not doing it to get serious. I was not doing it because I desired God. I just felt like I committed to doing that based on what he said, and that's what I was going to do. But God,
that's it.
God has the power.
Yes.
And as I would say all the time, he can't lose.
That's right.
So if you're going to do two things with the same intensity, God has to win. And he won, because after a while, because I would leave church, I would leave church with my clothes in the car and change in the car and do all kind of things and go to a cruise.
Can you tell us about that? I think that's just so fun. I mean, I know, but I want you to know too. I know, she's an open book to me, okay?
It's because I was committed to doing both. So I would feel guilty if I did not come to church. So what I would do is do both. So if they were both on the same day, I would never not come church to go to a party. But as long as the time frames don't match, I am gone. I would leave church. I have a friend that lives close to where the boats dock, and I would go by her and I would get ready for a cruise. And she'd be like, you just come from church? I was like, yes. So was he probably thinking, God don't know that I'm going to this cruise? And I would actually get ready and go to a cruise. But after a while, you couldn't party the way you used to. You couldn't drink the way you used to, because there was a level of guilt that came. And eventually it got stronger. And then one day a guy said to me, well, you don't just stop going to church.
Wow. And
that hurt me, because I never wanted to be seen as a fake Christian.
That's it.
So that kind of put brakes on, maybe I really should just give up. And I remember coming to church one Wednesday, that same week. And you and the bishop were not here. And one of our pastors, she was preaching, and I knew in that week that it was time to let go.
Yes. Wow.
I didn't know how, but I knew it was time to let go. And she's not a prophet.
Yes.
But when she was finished delivering the word, she started to prophesy. And it even surprised her, because she knows that's not what she does.
Right.
And when she got to me, she kept skipping from one foot to the next, from one foot to the next. And while she was doing that, in my spirit, I heard on the river, on the bank, on the river, on the bank. And the first thing she said was on the river, on the bank. So I knew there and then that God was speaking to me and letting me know that what I am feeling is confirmation that I needed to stop. And I tried. It didn't happen immediately, but it set me in a different path. It kind of like lessened down the things that I felt like I should go to, the things that I desired to need to be at. And eventually the taste left. There are things I like to do because I'm a very sociable person. So I like hanging out, I like going out and chatting and hanging around, but the hard partying, no.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I like socializing. I love to socialize, but there's a big difference obviously between going on a cruise with your normal party buddies, alcohol flowing and everything, whatever, you know what happens on a cruise. All of that is a big difference. So we don't want people to think we're boring now. We're not boring at all now. Yes, but that's true, and it's an amazing story. You do you feel we talked about this earlier, but I'm still gonna ask it in a different way, guess. Do you feel like there's a relief, as in know that the story is out, you feel like you're out of this bondage? Because you know that when you have a story in your heart and no one knows, it's a secret to you. So the part I really want to touch on is the secret. You having this secret inside of you. What was it like to not share it on the Onika Talks? Because obviously probably touch on a bit, but more so in the magazine where you know, okay, Onika Talks, some people in Barbados, a percentage may see it, but no, this is a paper where if you miss the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know you're getting the Sunday Sun.
That's right.
So how was that for you, knowing, okay, now everybody in Barbados pretty much gonna read this story? Remember, this is a secret that you've kept in, I believe, as you said, not even some family members knew.
Right. Well, when I did the interview, I really did not think of the amount of people that would get the newspaper. My mind honestly did not go that far. I just knew that this is something I needed to do, and I, at the time, initially I was doing it for me.
Yes.
It had two effects. There are people that I know get a newspaper, but they never called. And I think it's because they did not know what to say.
Right. Understood.
Because I have relatives that I don't talk to often. They don't call. We love each other because we are relatives, but they call someone else and ask them how I feel. And they all have my number, but they didn't call me. So it started to make me think, then there are going to be people out there who are not even as close as them, who would not know what to say. Other persons would have called or messaged or sent messages and told me how inspiring it was for them.
Absolutely.
There was a lady, she thinks she's like 70 years old, and she said that she has never even said anything, and it has happened to her over 60 years ago, and it liberated her. And I started to think, my story liberated a 70-year-old woman.
Absolutely.
And that kind of made me feel like I did the right thing. That there are going to be a small percentage of people who will see it and think, why did she do that? Or I can't believe she did that, or have a negative reaction to it.
Absolutely.
But the percentage of positive responses really outweighs that, and it doesn't really faze me.
You know, and anything we do in life, you're always going to have the naysayers. You can only imagine that Oprah Winfrey didn't get what she is before the naysayers. You can only imagine. Let's talk about Jesus. Jesus would have went through all that he endured for us. So anything you do, and always remember, sometimes the voice that is so loud, that is the naysayer's voice, you have to learn how to shut it out and just keep moving. Because here's the thing that people don't understand. Sometimes you need to have those naysayers because it keep you on your toes and keep climbing that ladder, keep going up, keep getting higher, keep getting better, keep getting stronger. So I always say, you're always going to have them. Bring them. Bring them. Don't let it be a discouragement to you, but let it be an encouragement to you. Okay? So, so naysayers, you heard it right here first on the Nina Air Show. If you have something to say, let it be positive. If not, zip it. Yes? Because at the end of the day, it's her story to tell. And I'm sure there's a lot more that were inspired than not. However, I do agree that there's some people who will be uncomfortable as family saying, oh my goodness, well, I didn't know, what do I say? I get that. And I believe this was not done from any kind of animosity or anything.
Oh no, it actually was not that. They were just concerned. Because although I am much older, this story was new to them. So it took them back to when I was a child. And they just wanted to be sure it was okay. So I had to go visit my grandmother because she never knew, and it kind of hurt her to know that her granddaughter went through something like this, and she never knew or could do nothing about it. But my family is always supportive, so
Yes.
I'm good with that.
That is for sure. What inspired such a bold and courageous move to share your story to Easy Magazine? Like, what was the before thought process?
God and prophecy, which still is God when you
Yes.
put the two together.
Yes.
There was always something deep. It was buried under a lot of stuff, but there was always something deep inside of me that saw me as a public speaker. I always saw myself talking and, you know, dressed nice and having rapport with a lot of women.
Yes.
And I felt all the years it was just how I interact with my girlfriends. They would always call me, so I felt like maybe this is all it is. But then you start to come to church and you would get prophecy about speaking to women and standing in front of women and full auditoriums, and I'm thinking, God, I hear you, but the women I know can't fill the auditorium. So
God fills them.
how?
God fills them.
Where? With what? Because I will say this, I never knew that this story, which was my biggest secret, was a story.
Right.
I never knew. I never thought that something so tragic could open a door for people to want to hear more.
That's right.
So over the last year, the nudge to say something or to do something grew. People close to me knew I would have been molested, but they never knew the extent. They never had details. They never knew the length of time. They really just knew. So they had their own perception of what occurred.
Yes.
This year, I felt like something inside of me opened and everything needed to come out. Everything needed to come out. And for a long time, and I would say a long time, but in the last year, I was very concerned about other people and how it would affect other people and how they would feel when I say what my truth was, and how would they feel when I explain what my truth was. But this boldness came this year, and I really, it might sound bad to say I didn't care, but the desire to do it was greater than how they felt. And I told myself, if God is the force behind me desiring to do it, He is going to find a way to comfort them. I also came, I can't say God told me this, but I also felt like there are a lot of things that people do in the dark that they don't want light shed on it. And I could no longer aid them in hiding their darkness while shutting up mine as well. So I felt like if I expose mine, all of the people that will fall or be exposed or be targeted, and not negatively targeted, but will be exposed because of my story, maybe that's the way God will help them to deal with the things that they do that need fixing as well. But I could no longer let it be my responsibility.
Yes, guys, I just want to share the reason why we are not getting too much into the actual molestation, because as we said in the beginning, and as she obviously said in the Easy Magazine, she's writing a book, so all of that will be in the book. So we don't want to say too much to give away obviously what's going to be in the book. Yes, so that's why we're not getting too much into it, like all the thoughts behind it, the feelings behind it, the emotions behind what she felt, family, who she told, who she did it. We don't want to get too deep into that. I'm just actually just this interview just to piggyback off of Easy Magazine basically. Yes. So thanks so much for sharing that. You shared that you protected your sibling from the hands of the molester. What made you at such a young age knew how to do that, even though you yourself was in such a vulnerable situation and position? Because I gotta tell you, I don't know if I will be able to do it. I'll be scared. I grew up a very scared child, so I would be scared, to be honest. Okay, so I mean, I just so admire that part when I read it. Even though I knew it, but I admire it still.
I don't even think it was a conscious decision I made. I just knew that what he was doing to me was wrong. And because I felt like I didn't die, that I don't know, because she was always much smaller than I was. And I didn't know how sick he was. I didn't know what fueled him to want to do it in the first place. Because I was not a full little girl. I didn't have breasts. I didn't have any of that. So for a long time I wondered, what about me caused this? Because you always think it's your fault.
Definitely.
But the one thing I did is make sure that I never left her with him.
Right.
Because if he would send me to the shop, if she's sleeping, I'm going to wake her up and take her with me.
That is...
And she would always cry, but he sent you, he sent me. But she never understood at that time what I was doing. I don't even know if I understood what I was doing. I just knew that I handled it well.
Man, oh my gosh, even to think of that is so touching.
I was not sure if she could, so I made sure as best as I could at that age that she was never alone.
That is so bold and so like brave. I don't know if there's so many. You know, we had a young lady here on the Nini Air Show, and she shared her story of molestation, and she talked about, and it was done by her father, and she spoke about her father molested her and her siblings, and she wanted to help but couldn't. And when she shared, I felt like if that would have been me, like I would have been helpless, you know. And so when I hear stories like this, when I see you being so bold, I know that it's encouraging others, because there are people right now, we will speak on that a little bit later, but there are people right now as we speak being molested.
Yes.
Because it's something that happens daily.
Yep.
Daily. More than we think. Rape, molestation, you know, all kinds of sexual abuse. You know, so this, as I said before, we know is not something that is uncommon, but a story must be told somewhere. There must be a start. Somebody has got to open their mouth and share what's happening with them. So again, that's such, I'm sure your sister must feel so like, I mean, so like love on you even more just knowing that you did this for her.
Well, our relationship only got close in the last 2 years.
2 years?
Yes. Yes.
Like 2 years?
2 years.
Uno?
Dos.
Seriously?
Yes, because nobody knew.
Yes.
Everybody dealt with the dynamic of our relationship as they saw fit.
Right.
And for all these years, I never knew how she felt about me.
Wow.
All I knew is that we were not bosom buddy sisters. I loved her and she loved me, but from a distance.
Wow.
We never liked the same things, went the same places. We just lived separate.
Yes.
And I remember, and this is why I have to keep saying, I mean, we've been to churches everywhere, but divine visitation assembly, there's an anointing on this house that opens doors and breaks down walls and tells secrets. Because 2 years ago, I remember being set up for an appointment with the bishop, and I thought it was just going to be me.
Wow.
And when I got there, I saw my mom and my sister, and they both had appointments with him. We still thought that it was going to be separate, but there was something in the realm of the spirit that he saw that needed to be unlocked for the three of us, so we can move forward.
Yes.
And that day he basically asked my sister to tell me what she felt. What she said hurt me because she didn't know my side of the story.
Right. Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
But I understood how she felt,
of course,
because she saw me as a trickster. Like, always have something to hide. Like, there's something, I can't trust her, basically.
Right.
Because even at her age, she noticed something was going on, and every time she would tell my mom, I would say no. So she grew up thinking, I can't trust her.
Right.
She never knew all this time that I was protecting her.
That's it. Wow.
So it kind of like unlocked things that we had inside, because this is the first time I'm going to say this. There were times growing up with my sister, because everybody liked my sister. Everybody loved the little cute girl with the long plaits that was quiet. And it kind of took away from me feeling like they cared about me too.
Yes.
Because I was different.
Yes.
Very bold, very rude, very in my own way, my own thing. And they gravitated to her. And inside of me, more than once, I felt like I should have just let it happen to her too.
Oh wow.
Because then they would realize that a part of me wanted to say to them, she's sweet, yes. But if you all just ask me why I'm like this, you would realize that I am sweet too. So
That is so deep.
that day, it unlocked a lot of things. It shed some light on a lot of things. Then you actually had the perspective that my mom had and how she would have felt, which is the reason why I did what I did, how I did it. But I would say that from that day, the unraveling and the unveiling of the true emotion and the truth behind everything kind of gave us a connection that is unbelievable now.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I could only imagine, obviously, that would have been a lot of tension, a bondage played up by the enemy as well, because we know we like to come in and do some skillful maneuvers to separate family. Yeah. Wow. When you hear these stories, it just makes, even though it just makes your heart feel like you get this overwhelming feeling like, wow, like how do we even manage to host all of this inside of us? Yet they say we are not strong. We are very strong. Women, we are very strong. We are very strong. Okay? We are not weak. You talk about your mom a little bit just now. How long did it take you to share the information to your mom? Was it the same 2 years ago, or?
No, I told her when I was 21 years old, which was 20 years ago.
Wow.
I had just had my son, and I was being a mother for the first time and understanding how a mother feels.
Yes.
And felt like at this stage there was nothing anybody could do about it, and I needed to say something so she understands what really happened.
What happened?
I still didn't tell her what really happened,
What really happened.
but I gave her a very surface understanding of all those times when she would ask, is something wrong? No. Is he doing something to you? No. Why don't you like him? I don't know. But when I was 21, I gave her my own version of what I felt she should know.
She should know. So you pretty
At
much
that time.
water it down for her.
Real watery.
Wow.
Yeah.
My. And all of this is in your book.
Even
Most
more
of
is in the book.
You heard that. That's why we're not sharing some of
More
it.
is in the
We
book.
just, this, as I said, we just piggybacking from the magazine, and we're talking about when my spiritual daughter had got sexually molested at 9 years old, and her story, her process, inspiring others through her process, her journey, her healing, and coming to church, finding God, finding herself even. So that's what we're talking about here. Post the article of your sexual molestation. Do you have any regrets about anything you shared? For example, others may view you. We all know that some people prefer to carry this to their grave without somebody's hearing about it, to look at them and have like a stigma and say, oh, as you said earlier, you did something to deserve it. And I believe that's one of the biggest reasons why most children don't even tell.
Well, for me, I feel very good. Let me just clear the air on that. I have no hiccups about what I did or what I said. I think the story was very well articulated.
Yes.
Exactly how I would have wanted it told without giving too much detail, because all the details are in the book.
Yes.
But to be honest, I used to be a girl that people would see and point at anyways. That's the girl that had. That's the girl that do. There's the girl that want. So if they're going to do that now because of something that I believe is healing for myself and somebody else, that's fine.
Yes.
I have no problem people seeing me as the girl that was molested, because I was. And it is not a secret.
That's right.
But what I also know is that I am going to be the girl that people will point at and come to and ask a question or ask an opinion or even use to speak to others.
Yes.
So I've just put myself out there because somebody had to do it.
Yes. Do you feel at this point, yes, you've shared your story, and this is the last question, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back because we've got some other stuff, okay? Do you think that by sharing the story that you actually, sometimes we share how we've started, but do you think, like, for the bigger stage, bigger audience, do you think at this point that you're ready for that break, that aspect of the story, or you would rather God now process you through a channel?
I actually think that's what God is doing. I think this is just the beginning.
Yes.
But I also think what He is doing is showing me, I told you.
Yes.
That's what I feel like. I told you, trust me, stay with me, and everything else I told you you're going to see. Because this is the first, I don't want to say real manifestation, but this is the biggest that I have seen. Promises that He would have given me. This is the one that gives me a glimpse of what He meant and I may not be ready for a big stage yet, but I know if I stay the course and continue to trust him and listen to the little voice that I know is him when he speaks, I think that in process I will be ready.
Absolutely. I love that answer. And with that, guys, we have to take a break. We'll be back with you. We have some other questions for my spiritual daughter here, Onika. So guys, stay with us, and we're going to be back very soon. We love you. We're going to be back with the other questions. God bless you. You're watching the Nina Ear Show, where we talk excellence. So yeah.